Good morning and hello to all my friends, family, people who support me, send me questions and have conversations. So I thank you for the encouragement, and yes, I will thank you every time I get onto this podcast. The reason why I got on today is quite simple, is to talk about aging and the aging process. I'm nearly 50 in a couple of years, and I do not fucking know where the time's gone, how it's flown, how it's gone by so quick. And yes, the fact of the matter is, there is death, and we all probably think about it, and it's a really natural process. The body, the mind progresses quite naturally, and as long as you're fairly healthy and mentally and physically moderately, I shouldn't say moderately, you should be well enough. That is really not a bother. And I think we can't fight what's going to eventuate. And I think we need to accept it gracefully. But putting that aside, the reason why I got on here, because I'm nearing 50, and as I said, don't know where the time's gone, but I think depending on how you spend your life, where my case was concerned, a lot of the time was spent. A lot of the times, in my early 20s, my teens, I was running. I kept running. I kept myself busy, occupied. I worked a couple of jobs. I was constantly on the move, and then I was in a relationship for quite a while. And I learned quite a lot from my relationship, emotionally, physically. It was quite rewarding. There were challenges, like most relationships. There are ups and downs, like most relationships. And then sometimes you make a decision whether or not you stay or leave, and not necessarily either party's to be blamed. It's just the way it is. Sometimes people just not necessarily, they could be friends, but not necessarily relationships meant for them. And you can put two incredibly nice, kind people in the room, and they probably won't get along, and you will see flaws, and you will see vices, and you will see disruption. But you'll also understand that those two people in that close vicinity also has a lot to give to each other. And in my relationship, I actually loved my partner for quite a number of years, and I still have a lot of feelings. But will I ever go back into that relationship? No. But will I have his back? Certainly, 100%. Because even though there are things that I acknowledge, that the inabilities, things that were not quite compatible, I still, when I look under the surface, I still do know the intentions were good, and yes, we fell apart after trying many years, and I have myself to blame. But anyway, I digress. But what I'm trying to say is time does not wait for anyone, and the thing is, I'm nearing 50, and I'm loving the fact that I'm nearing 50, because I think as we age, all we can do is understand, rejoice, accept certain realities, and yes, the aches and pains, they don't go away. They every morning, depending. Once again, I can't speak for all, but I can only speak for myself and speak for the few I know, and the conversation around people in their 40s, 50s. Oh, I wake up in the morning and it's like I have the flu, but you get used to it. You get used to it, and I think for me, because I have a couple of health complexities. Sometimes my joints throb, and my metabolism's quite slow, so I tend to put on weight quite easily, which I'm afraid of, because as I age, my metabolism will only get slower. But what I also have to pay attention to is my sleep, and I think my sleep is quite essential. So what I've been mastering, or trying to master, is the fact that I need to be in bed for about 7 to 8 hours. So let's say if I wake up within 4 hours of sleep, what I do, I will stay in bed for this extra 3 hours, and I'll try to meditate. I'll close my eyes. I'll think of things that are pleasant. I always go back to Bronte. So I always picture myself doing the coastal walk. I always picture myself at the pool. So brunch is my go-to place. It is my happy place. And so I will stay in bed for those extra 3 hours. And then what I'll then do is I will wake up, take my meds, especially my thyroid medication, which is quite essential. And yes, and then I'll do a bit of stretching. I invariably most mornings about just a just before 6 o'clock, between 6:30, I take Cooper out for a walk. And I think walking for us is quite essential. Again, it's all about the abilities. Now, I'm making these general statements. Now, we have to tailor it according to ourselves, right? So a lot of people who are a little bit bigger than I am, let's say swollen ankles, a bit of weight, arthritis. Arthritis is a big deal. I suffer from it, and I know how horrible and cumbersome it is. So people who do have certain inabilities due to certain conditions, you do have to sort of work around it. And I think swimming is great. So if you have a local pool, most pools are heated, I think, and therefore you go to the pool and walk up and down if you can't swim, or float, and therefore staying in that water and trying to stay mobile basically helps with your heart rate, helps with your metabolism. It helps with it helps with overall mental and physical. On the other hand, I do go to Bronte. Even in winter, I will jump into the pool and I will stay in the pool. I mean, some people just are super. They swim laps and laps and laps. I will just probably be in the pool for 5 minutes, do a couple of laps, and I'll jump back out, and I'm freezing cold. But it is worth it because I feel this energy. I feel rejuvenated, which I think as you progress, you need to hold on to. So to those folks who are going through this whole aging process, the biggest advice to you would be is accept it. Don't ponder and think about it. Acknowledge the aches and pains, and if you can't sleep, stay in bed for those extra few hours as if you were asleep, and take that opportunity to meditate. Don't jump out of bed, wake up about at sunrise. So when it's getting bright, then yes, I would tell you, get out of bed, go make yourself a cup of tea, do what you have to do. If breakfast is what you do, I would encourage it. Maybe not overeat, but eat enough. Limit your salt and sugar in your 40s. I think limit your salt and sugar. It's not that great. I am limiting my salt and sugar. I am a great fan of kettle chips. Oh my God. The people who know me will tell you Neil loves his kettle chips. Neil loves his sweet. So I love my cakes. I could have a meal. But what I've done is in the last decade or so, I have reduced that to a minimum. Unfortunately, by looking at me, you can't really tell because I have a slow metabolism. So anything I eat, so your normal size will be my plate size, will be double or triple to what I should be eating. So if that makes any sense. So what I mean is, if your 3 plates of food is equivalent to maybe my 1 plate of food, and that's how slow my metabolism is. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get off salt as well, and it's not easy. But as you reduce the salt and the sugars, what happens is your taste buds they start settling themselves and adapting to the change, and you actually don't miss it. So a couple of things I would strongly recommend people who are aging. Obviously, within reason, if you have inabilities, conditions that totally halt you from doing any activity. If you are aging and if you're finding yourself with the aches and pains, if you're finding yourself struggle a tad bit mentally, emotionally, a couple of things I recommend: reduce the salt and the sugar. Obviously, I would say talk to your doctor if you need to, but reduce your salt and sugar. I would say contact with pets is really essential. My dog gives me a lot of pleasure. My days are basically around him, so I will take him out in most mornings. I mean, I rarely miss the mornings. He's out with me 6 o'clock to about 6:30. We go for a walk. He's out again at night with me for another half an hour. And sometimes if I'm not working during the day, I will take him out as well. But in interacting with your animals, if you don't have the space for animals, or you don't have because you need to be present for your animals. Just don't get animals and think it's easy, because you have to interact with them on a daily basis. Cuddles, hugs, even talking to your animals is quite essential, because they do feel, they do hear you, they do understand you, they have emotions. If you are close enough to your animal, you will know they have emotions. They feel pain, they feel hurt, they feel embarrassment, they feel happy, and if you're close enough, you will understand that. But if you're not allowed to keep animals for whatever reason, I would say make it a point to go to farmhouses, make it a point to go to the zoo at least once or twice, a couple of every few months and you will see that there is quite a lot of relief emotionally. There's this, I don't know what it is, but the chemicals in our bodies, the chemicals in our brains, they react quite positively to animals, or at least I think that's the case, because that happens to me. Anyway, look after yourselves, stay healthy, keep reinventing ourselves. Because you're 40, 50, 60, that doesn't mean you can't reinvent yourselves. And that's the most important thing. And socialize. So socialize. Doesn't matter if you're an introvert. Find people who you can hang out with. And I know it's a struggle. Do it. If you don't like sushi, go into a Japanese restaurant and try some sushi. You don't have to eat raw meat. It's not always raw meat. If you don't like Indian, go into an Indian restaurant and try some Indian. If you don't like Lebanese, go into a Lebanese restaurant, try some Lebanese. Obviously within reason. If you normally don't like nature, go out and enjoy the beaches, enjoy the parks, because Sydney is a wonderful city, and just get out of your comfort zone. So let's say, for example, if you're in areas like Campbelltown or Blacktown, okay, get out of those places. The other thing I would encourage you to do is evaluate and reevaluate the people you hang out with. Make sure that they are not holding you back. So if you have if you have issues with weight, make sure that the people around you, they could be skinny and slender and so on and so forth. But if they're not active enough, then what they'll do is they will stagnate you. So people who are not mentally stimulating, for example, and you need that stimulation because you're struggling with depression. So make sure that you find those people who are able to share various experiences and who are able to encourage you. It's very important to surround ourselves with good, genuine people. You don't necessarily need to have 1,000 people around you to have a good time. You can just have those handful of people around you to have a blessed, to have a really encouraging of a time. So anyway, stay safe, look after yourselves, be well, and just live life to the best we possibly can. Meditate, swim, aqua, do whatever you can to keep yourself going. Love you all. Take care and stay blessed.